anybody coming in tonight. You know, there's no applicants or CUPs or subdivisions or anything else to go over, so.
Yeah, so all you wanted to deal with is talk about the memorandum of understanding.
Yeah, I had asked, I think the last time we didn't have any, you know, presenters or applicants or anything, I said, do we have to meet? And David said that because it's advertised, that we need to be here, and the selectmen like us to be here just in case somebody shows up.
Well, earning your pay.
Yes, exactly. Well, actually, even before we had a lawyer on the board, I don't
know who that is.
Yeah, I made the argument that we're here for the people of the town.
Right.
Yeah.
And if somebody who doesn't know how to do it any other way, but to come in and sit there and talk to us, we should be here for them.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, we are.
Yes.
Wes? Okay. David, we'll might as well get started with the meeting. My watch says 7 o'clock. So this is the planning board meeting of 3/10, March 10th, 2022. And we do have a quorum, although it's not needed. And David just sent out the minutes from the last meeting, 2/24/22. I read through them, and it looked like he covered everything pretty well. The discussion with Lori and Scott Murch and Kurt Christensen and Jamie McDonald, and then the CEO report, and then the discussion on the comprehensive plan. Has anybody else had a chance to look at these?
Yep, I move we approve them.
Okay.
Was David here?
Yeah.
So he should just add his name to members present.
Did he sign it at the bottom? Because if he signed it at the bottom, then we know he was present.
No, he didn't.
No? Okay, good point.
Yeah.
I used to do it that way when I was secretary. I wouldn't put myself up at the
Yeah.
top, I'd put myself at the bottom.
So with the addendum of adding David's name to the members present, you move that we approve them. I second it. All in favor?
I wasn't here.
Okay, so that's approve the minutes from 2/24/22. And then the next topic is the Southern Maine Planning and Development Commission work on the comprehensive plan. So I called Lee J, and he will be here. I gave him a choice of tonight or the 24th, and he will be here on the 24th. So I was looking back, and at our last meeting in December, I think we did meet on December 23rd, we actually approved this. We actually approved it, and then it wasn't until we were ready to sign the MOU that we had the interlude to see if there were any other players out there, which there are not. So Lee J will be here on the 24th, and I told him we wanted to Hi, David. Hello?
Hey man, are you at the planning board meeting?
Yes, we are.
The door's locked.
We're sending our lawyer out to get it.
Oh, I unlocked the door, but,
He's got a pull hard, that's all.
oh, okay. Apparently, the word is you have to pull harder.
It's a strength test. Great.
No, you don't have to unscrew that thing except when you lock it back up. You don't have to do that hex wrench thing when you open it up.
Yes,
do
you
you?
do.
You screw the thing in and it holds the bar down.
Oh, I didn't do that.
I did.
Oh, you did, okay, all right.
I got in.
Yeah, yeah. So I would have some questions for BJ.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in his, let me see what he calls it. The GIS mapping.
I talked to him about that, and I said we want to understand better what the GIS mapping is and what it's going to do for us, what we get out of that $4,200. And I said there is a new GIS mapping function on the Cumberland Assessor's website for Baldwin. I said, you know, you can do a lot with it. It's not fully complete because some data is still missing, but, you know, I suggested to him that, you know, maybe we can invite Ben Thompson to the meeting on the 24th to make sure that there isn't some kind of synergy that's available between the assessor's GIS mapping and what the comprehensive mapping would be, and certainly we would want to avoid any overlap.
That's great. That's a wonderful idea, Matt. I'm concerned because, well, for one thing, I'm very open about what land I own or don't own or whatever. I always register my surveys. And so the GIS coordinates are on there. And I'm not sure. I want to know if they're used. I would love to have them actually used. I don't think that Ben Thompson always uses them. In fact, in one place he said, look, I'm sorry, I got to give this guy 10 acres and I'm taking it out of your land. And I'm like, okay, you know.
The thing you have to understand though is that the GIS map that's with the assessing, it's just like a representation. And it's not exact by any means.
But it could be, Bob.
It could be, but everybody would have to get their land GIS mapped.
But if you take the people who have had their land GIS mapped,
Yeah.
and that's what a survey is nowadays.
Sure.
If you take that, you've got a starting place.
Yeah, you do, but like you said, all of a sudden you'll find that somebody's field shifted way over here and you've eliminated somebody.
And, yeah, so whatever it is, I mean, I'd love to hear that conversation.
Yeah.
The problems you're talking about are exactly what I want to talk about. Why do we have them anymore? Why haven't we figured this one out? You know,
Well, you know, it's because a lot of descriptions don't even have a good meets and bounds.
so I spend the money to get Butch Yerumian. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's very well respected in the area. I spend the money to get Butch Yerumian to run my lines and GIS everything. And then I take and I file it down to the Cumberland County Registry of Deeds. And then my thought is, as we go along in time, and more of us are having these surveys done, eventually the town will end up with a good map of the
Yes,
town.
they will.
And so I want to encourage us to get on that road towards having a good map.
But, I mean, even when people, use, tree growth surveys,
Yeah,
the forester walks around with a little thing, but, you know, that data doesn't get fed in.
right, and it shouldn't.
And quite often, it disagrees significantly with the tax records.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't, but a surveyor
Yeah.
doing a GIS map is another story.
Yeah.
And those are the banks are requiring that more and more.
Well,
So, you know,
yeah.
I want to hear the discussion from the professional. I want to see Ben and Lee J squirm.
Neither one of them's fine with it.
No, neither one of them's going to squirm, you're right, but I want to hear what they have to say.
Okay. So what's the best way to invite Ben Thompson to the 24th? Should that come from the selectmen, or can I just call him and invite him?
I can invite him, what I'd like to do is maybe put them in contact with each other first. So that they discuss. Yeah, they don't need to drag Ben out here to,
Yeah.
if there's
That's
a
a
really
good
simple
idea.
explanation of what he's got.
Yeah.
It might be premature to get him involved.
Yeah, but.
He might have to be involved down the line.
But I would say, send me an email tomorrow. I need to put this on you, but if you send me an email tomorrow,
Yep.
and I will ask him about it. He's pretty busy right now, he's getting ready to do the commitment.
Just recollection, I don't know what we discussed last time, we were looking at the, full plan, or were we just, update?
Update.
We were having some discussion of why wouldn't we do the full plan?
Yeah, and I think that was, it's good that you bring that up, because we were budgeting for the update, but I think David focused us on, well, what's the difference between the update and the full plan besides, you know, $10,000? It's actually 21,100 versus 31,950, because the question is, if we do the update, who is gonna do the work? You know, how is that work gonna get done?
Exactly, but I'm looking at the language here, and it says, update chapters and data, this is underneath the, updated plan. And then if you go to the full plan, it says, draft new chapters. That seems like the piece of additional work right there.
Yeah.
Draft new chapters and update data. So it seems like you're getting, and the dollars here would reflect that. Some additional rewrite of new chapters. Why wouldn't you want to consider that? I mean, it's.
Have you read the comprehensive plan? Have you? No.
Not fully, but no.
I'm sorry, I didn't bring my huge bag, my folder in. I've got a copy of the comprehensive plan. There's one at the library, there's one here at the town office. I mean, maybe you'd want to read the comprehensive plan to know why people think we just need to update it. In some ways, the town has changed
Exactly.
a lot, but in some ways it hasn't. And the general boilerplate in most of the chapters, you know, you can just go through and revise it. We don't need to
Yeah.
throw out the old comprehensive plan and start from scratch.
I was just more concerned with new chapters. There may be some new things as time has gone on that we would like to discuss.
Good point. Solar farms.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyway.
Maybe there's room in there. That's a good question. Maybe there's room in there to include new chapters that aren't, you know,
Maybe that's something,
yeah. Yeah,
have a discussion, maybe we have some ideas as to what type of new chapters.
yeah.
The other thing was, GSI mapping is, they have two different prices here. I don't quite understand what that was, why.
Yeah, well, it's 4,200
There's
and
$1,000 difference on it.
5,250. Well, that's something that he could tell us.
I think the way we left the last meeting is we were all, still had some open discussions about scope. And I'm not sure we're there yet.
Well, I think that's why we wanna talk to Lee J, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah, I think that, there were some things that people were a little unclear on with the, update of the existing plan, like, you know, exactly what was gonna be in the GIS mapping, you know, a little clarity on the scope of work, but also on the, division of responsibility.
Right.
What do they do? What do we do? What happens first? For instance, you know, a hypothetical question would be, in the full plan rewrite, it starts out with public engagement, survey, and public meetings. There's none of that in the update of the existing plan. So I could see Lee J sitting here and saying, well, after the town of Baldwin holds their own public engagement function and does their survey and holds the public meetings and gives us the results and learning from that, we will start updating chapters and data. You know, which would make it clear to us that all of the effort to find out how people's attitudes and priorities have changed since 1996 is, you know, it's for us to figure out and provide to them. You know, he could say something like that. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that, what might be a good idea for us to do tonight is to specify the questions that we have, and, if we can kind of clarify and prioritize them, I can give Lee J a call and tell him this is what we'd like to go over. I'm sorry, this is a family text, and I have, on your iPhones, you can make certain family members emergency contacts. So even if you have your sound off, you know, the calls and the texts come through. I know what I have to do. What you have to do is turn your ringer off. Okay. So, you know, we can make the meeting on the 24th more productive by letting Lee J, you know, think about things and develop some answers to what we want to know. And of course, one of those things that we've already identified is, you know, putting him in touch with Ben to discuss synergies relative to GIS mapping. But let's continue on what you were saying, Don.
Yeah, and I think also what you were saying, Matt, was, how is this thing actually going to?
Yes.
Who's taking the lead on this, and what does this, a committee look like? Is it a committee that, is it us? Is it more than just us?
Let you know, probably one of the first things is, do we, as a town, have a good enough understanding of the the difference between the full plan rewrite and the update of the existing plan? Do we need to have more discussion on that? And that kind of feeds into the workload responsibilities for the update of the existing plan. You know, what are we really gonna need to do, to do that? Because I'm sure that he's gonna say that there needs to be some kind of public engagement. If it's not a survey, there at least need to be some kind of focus group meetings to determine areas of interest and priorities and things like that, because otherwise, you know, if we're doing the update of the existing plan and Southern Maine, you know, starts updating the chapters and data, how are they gonna update the chapters and data?
So we need to see a copy of as many, well, of a typical survey that other towns have used.
Right. And we have the copy of the survey that was done the last time.
Yeah, but maybe the surveys have been updated.
Yeah.
So what did Parsons Field do, or Lovell, or two of the other places that he's, mentioned? Now, there's one thing that, is central to this, but may appear tangential, and that is, unless you have reconsidered Matt has resigned as of the end of this month from the planning board, sent a letter into the selectmen. I would prefer to see you continue on. I think you do a tremendous job, and you have great organizational skills, well beyond me, and you know how to manipulate all those electrons, which I don't, and I'd love to see you stay on.
Thank you.
Second.
Third.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Yeah.
Well, I think that we should put that out there, because this is going to affect the future of the board. I mean, I watch you organizing this, and I'm admiring your organization, even though I interrupt you all the time. And you're very polite about it. And I'm saying, you know, Matt's going to keep on organizing this and getting everything all set for tonight and on the 24th, and then he's going to disappear. And we're all going to weep and cry and gnash our teeth. I mean, rent our clothes.
No, it's like, you know, it's like you take a bucket of water and you stick your hand in there and thrash it around all you want, you know, when you take it out, the water soon looks the same as before, you know, it's just, that's the point of tonight and the 24th is, to put together a game plan for what needs to be done, who's gonna do it and how it's gonna get done, so that there's a clear idea of what the town's responsibilities are and what SMPD and C are gonna do. And I think, you know, we covered the GIS mapping. We have a plan to address that, and I'm in the middle of sending you this email, Bob, right from my phone now, that gives you actually Lee J's contact information.
Yeah, okay.
So you can put him in touch with Ben. But this whole idea of public engagement, survey, public meetings, focus groups, if we're not gonna pay them to do it, and it becomes a town responsibility because this is a waterfall, you know, and it's a sequential thing, and that input has to come first. How does that get done? And if we're gonna do it, do they have updated questionnaires that we can use, or even discussion guides for, public meetings, that they can provide to us so that we get that, public input?
So let me try again from a different angle. Since you weren't gonna be on the planning board anymore, how about you continue to be in charge of this as a separate committee?
Great idea. I'll think about it. They'll
Great.
have to be discussed.
That's a very optimistic answer, thank you, thank you.
So, and I guess a third point is, and it's kind of related to the second one there, and that is, clarity on, update versus full plan rewrite. And I think that's a really good topic that you brought up, Don, because, you know, the way to look at this is it's 31,950 minus 21,1, so it's, what, $10,850? And so really, what we're weighing is almost $11,000 versus all of the planning boards and selectmen's work, you know, to do the update.
I think, but when you look at the final day, the same amount of work probably has to be done, at least the same amount of work. And with one, there's more responsibility and work that's gonna sit on the town. And gets to be a little bit more difficult to control, in my opinion, as to who's doing it and how does it get done. Whereas if you have a consultant, you're paying them, and, you know, they gotta do their job. So, to me, it makes sense to have them, you know, spearhead this whole thing as opposed to somebody from the town spearheading it, you know?
Well, if the full plan rewrite is budgeted over 2 years, it's $16,000 a year. Doesn't seem reasonable to me to budget something like this over 3 years. By the time you get done, things will have changed again. But, is that a feasibility, Bob, do you think? You know, $11,000 over 2 years for an update versus $16,000 a year over 2 years for a full plan rewrite?
Joe's solar panel farm, I'm bringing along.
I'm paying for it,
Yeah, we've already got some money in the reserve account, I don't know, 5,000 or something. I've been fiddling around with how we phase it in there. You know, the extra $5,000 a year is about 3 cents on your mill rate. It used to be, I don't know, I haven't looked at it real closely, but another $10,000 a year in expenditure, usually results in about 6 cents on the mill rate increase. So 5,000 would be about 3 cents on the mill rate. You know, in and of itself, not a big deal, but we got a whole lot of those this year. Budgeting oil and important to do. I don't know if you got the little NMA fold-over sheet in the mail, but came today or yesterday or something, but all those things that they're talking about for housing and stuff is still on top.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been in the newspaper too.
I think that's an expense for the town, not something that's gonna generate income for the town.
Yeah.
No, but the one thing that they have in there, they say that, towns that are willing to look at changing their, land use and subdivision, ordinances to try to accommodate, you know, the law can apply for up to $75,000 in, grant money from the state to, rework their, ordinances and things, so.
That's a perfect example of a new chapter.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll give Lee J some direction that we're rethinking the update versus the full plan, rewrite, because it's unclear who the town's really gonna have to work on all this, and the importance of the public engagement, survey and public meetings to kick things off, and the possible need for new chapters. What other?
He says in here, the work will be completed over the course of a few years. It doesn't say 2 years.
Yeah, well, I think that if we, I'm assuming that if we pay for it over 2 years, it'll be done over 2 years. Well, and that's a clarification, so I'll ask them to clarify that. We're not gonna pay for it over 2 years if they take 3 years to do it.
We don't wanna take a few years.
Yeah.
I think it's important to get it done in 2 years.
Yeah, this is holding up our rewriting of some of our ordinances. We know we've got to, look at our ordinances, our subdivision ordinance and our land use ordinance. And, it would be foolish to do it until this was finished.
All right, just sent you that email, Bob.
Yeah.
Did you guys approve the minutes before I got here?
Yeah, we did,
Wait,
with the caveat of you adding your name.
Okay.
So are you still wearing a mask, all the time and at work and everything when you're in conference and?
No, I haven't, every situation is different, you know? Like, if I go to a store, I'll wear a mask, or I just walked in with it, so I felt like some kinship, I just leave it on.
I meet with regularly vulnerable populations and immunocompromised people, so I just made a commitment to always keep it on.
It's like a security blanket now. I'm better than all you.
I'd like to rip it off. I'm
Yeah.
tired of it. But I'd rather err on the side of caution than make somebody sick.
Yeah.
Well, I can hear you through your mask, and I can't always hear everybody,
Yeah,
so that's
I
nice.
like these, I got a special kind that's like ATM-free, fluid-free shield, but I can breathe,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, Bob, any other thoughts or questions, that, you know, wanna give shape to, what we do with, Lee J and or Ben next week?
No, I think, once we get in here and start talking, there'll be some more questions that come up.
Yeah.
I think it's a good start.
Oh, we're gonna have a busier meeting on the 24th because we have, Dick, from, Firefly, coming in, and he's got a ton of, documents and a new, site plan and everything for that, subdivision. What was the check for, Wes?
He charged $45 an acre.
Okay, that's what it was.
It was $2,561.
I will be recusing myself from that.
Because of your,
He came visit during the week and
Yeah.
gave me a bunch of papers,
okay.
so that I photocopied the check there, gave it to Debbie.
Oh, this is multiple copies
Yeah.
of the same
Yep.
thing, okay.
I'm actually involved in this, my land is on the survey, and my right-of-way is on the survey. And, so it's appropriate that
I mean, do you have, does it have any financial impact on you, whether this is approved or
well,
not?
it might, if the board turns down the, subdivision, it might have financial impact on me, yes.
What's it worth to you if we approve it?
You're pressing your luck asking me.
All right, yeah, so it's gonna be busy with all that next week, plus, but I imagine we can, cover things with, Lee J and, I think we'll do Lee J first, so we get that in and at least have a good hour discussion or so, and then, because I imagine that, we're not gonna, resolve everything with, Dick, going over that.
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
Looking over the package, he's looking for a lot of waivers.
Yeah, I just didn't think it'd be appropriate for me to be dealing with waivers and stuff like that. It just, if it was straightforward, maybe, but it's not.
Yeah, this doesn't look straightforward to me.
You're right, Dylan. You're right.
Okay, so I will, give Lee J a call and go over these three things, the, GIS mapping, and that, Bob's gonna try and put, Ben Thompson in touch with them so they can, do a Vulcan mind meld on, GIS mapping, and that, you know, we really need to discuss the pros and cons of the update versus the full plan, and, you know, like if we were gonna do an update, then, you know, to what degree are they able to support us or give us some guidance or some materials for, surveys, input, discussion guides, things like that. And I'll point out to them this, you know, for the, few years, did he really mean,
Really
if we
like
pay
that,
for it
yeah.
over 2, they're gonna do it over 3, I don't think about that, but, yeah. Okay. All right, and, I think the other thing that you brought up, Don, is the concept of new chapters. And what are his, can he come prepared to think about what new chapters, we, might need? And at the same time, it's not just new chapters, but are there chapters that can be thrown out?
Well, that's good.
So. Tracy, Joe, any other thoughts on the comprehensive plan? David?
No.
I think my homework is gonna be reading the comprehensive plan.
And you got a copy of it?
I have to have a copy of it, but
Very, very exciting.
I can imagine, but I still need to.
Ambitious. You don't sleep well?
I'm usually up at 3.
Okay, understand.
My brain is still going.
Well, I would, lend you a copy, I don't know, where we might get together to do a swap. If you wanted to come up to my house, I'm there. I'll be here at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, but, before then I'll be home. 9 Pierce Place, if you plug it into your phone.
Okay, do I have your number?
831-1334. That's my cell phone.
831 what?
1334.
Okay. I'll give you a call.
Okay, great.
Okay. I copied everybody on it, but I did send out the approval to, for the West Baldwin Solar Station, and then Terry Day sent me a copy of the approval letter that they sent. She called me and said, are we going to approve it? Because they had met with them and told them that their approval was contingent on our approval, et cetera. So, they've gotten the extension approval from both Terry Day and us. And it was reinforced by both townships that, they can't make any changes, and that a second approval would be unlikely. In fact, Terry's group told them that they wouldn't get one. And that's kind of interesting, because with the delays that they have on the system impact study and the interconnection agreement, they aren't going to begin tree clearing and construction until the first quarter of 2023. As long as they've started before May 13th, 2023, they'll be okay. But if they run into any delays that keeps them from breaking ground in the first quarter of next year, that, they're going to have to come back for another.
Somebody up there bust a road a little bit. Have any of you seen Hiram's solar ordinance?
No.
It was on the ballot, 4th of March. Have you seen it, Bud?
What's this?
Hiram has a solar ordinance. Solar farm ordinance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't have any.
Hiram has one.
Yeah?
Have you seen it? Have you seen what they did?
No,
No.
no, they haven't shared.
Maybe I'll see if I can find one. Just for interest.
I can ask Terry to send it to us.
Yeah.
It's sort of a one-way trip, the form I made out for, construction permit for a solar farm, Hiram asked me for a copy, Brownfield asked me for a copy, Parsonsfield asked me for a copy.
Do you know that Terry is the secretary of the, planning board for Hiram?
There's a lot of stuff over there.
And she's also, I guess, the,
Tri-town.
assistant town clerk in Tri-Town and stuff. Yeah, yeah. Has Baldwin ever considered,
You might even do general assistance.
Yeah. yeah, has Baldwin ever considered having the, administrative assistant, for the selectmen also be the official secretary of the planning board?
A problem might come up with there, maybe Hiram doesn't care about these borders as much as we have traditionally. Going back, Norm McKinney was very clear that as a selectman, he wanted to only take on the responsibilities of selectmen, and he did not want to take on responsibilities of the planning board. And that when you commingle administration, you begin to have problems.
Two years ago, when I was over in Cornish Planning Board hired a secretary.
Right.
And we horsed around with that thought a little bit here.
Well, Cornish has a secretary, Hiram has a secretary, Standish has a secretary, and Baldwin doesn't have a dedicated administrative type secretary. We have, a planning board member who serves as secretary. And you can disagree with me, David and Joe, anybody can, but I don't think it works very well. Because our records, our files are kind of a mess. We haven't been numbering the CUPs like we were years ago. We can't find all of the subdivisions and things like that. David doesn't have time to come in here. People that have 60-hour-a-week jobs can't come in here and do the filing and keep up with that and everything. And I understand the division of responsibilities, but it seems that towns that are both larger and smaller than Baldwin or comparable to are taking a different approach, and I'm wondering if they know something that we don't.
All right, I'll give you some history. Back shortly after we hired Danielle, we also had her supporting the planning board. And it wasn't long after that, she was accused of messing up the files in there. And somebody wanted to put a lock on it. And, kind of backed away. And,
I swore. I took the Lord's name in vain.
well, that was
Yeah.
what happened. And, so, that being said, if we hired a secretary for the planning board, would you stay on?
I get a sense that David being acting secretary, he's concentrating on conversation words, so it might take away from an opportunity for him to participate in comments and opinions in the discussion of
I think it is suboptimal having David as secretary, because he doesn't have the time to, you know, come in here and do the abutters letters and all that kind of stuff, or any of the filing, or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And in terms of records, you know, if people wanted to find the CUPs that we've approved in the past 2 years, or the solar farm files that we've approved in the past 2 years, they would have to go to two people. They would have to go to David's files on his computer and my files on my computer, because that's where all this stuff is. It's not in the file cabinets in the building, and it's not on any computer in the building.
It should be, because don't the minutes get sent to the current Danielle, to Robin?
Yeah, they
And
do.
so she posts them on the website.
But we have not been fastidious about, there's still 2 meeting minutes missing from 2021, and we haven't necessarily been attaching the completed CUPs or subdivision approvals to the minutes.
But, you know, there's more than just files. There is the issue of being able to conduct a meeting without worrying about that, that's keep an accurate record of the transaction.
Right.
So,
Well, it was just something that popped into my head when I got this call from Terry Day, and I went to Hiram's website and I looked up and
yeah, she does a whole host of things there.
and I just thought, gee, isn't that nice? I said, wouldn't that be nice, you know, having a more professional administrative support for the planning board. What do you think, David?
I don't really think one way or the other. I don't really have an opinion. I mean, I'm not sure I've ever conceived of my job to be working on the files. That's just never been something I've conceived as my secretary role. It is hard to engage in, you know, the discussion and to take notes at the same time, but, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I remember when Danielle did move the files around, and I do remember questions about where things ended up, and,
But she never did come in and try to record meetings.
no, we we seriously discussed that probably 3 times in my tenure, having somebody come in and do it. I think the challenge is getting somebody smart enough to do it, who's agreeable to getting paid as little as we'd be willing to pay. And you still have a process of, you know, the minutes it's as much of it depends what you want the minutes to be. Now, if you want the minutes to be a detailed record of everything said and done, that's a different thing than what we do. I mean, we do more of a summary of kind of what happened, and the more important meetings, they're more detailed than others. I mean, you know, some of the minutes are 5-10 pages, other ones are 2. Same amount of time, just, so, I mean, I don't care, whatever the board wants to do.
Well, I just brought it up for discussion. I think there's no vote needed or anything like that, just something to think about in terms of how the planning board moves forward. Because in April, you're gonna have to decide who's doing what.
Well, we're gonna nominate you for chair.
Okay, CEO update?
I gave you that paper. There's a new development going on here.
Another one.
It's another CUP. It involves the sign on the corner of 113 and 117, the junction there. It's owned by, Joel Gostrom. Joel lives on Rocky Dunn Road about halfway. He also owns the house and the property right on the corner there with that, the sign. That's a rental investment that he's made. And last year, he erected a sign on that land. He called me and I told him to hold back at least 33 feet and so on and so forth. So, and we had no sign ordinance. Well, there's a couple people in town are a little bit upset about the sign, politely, nicely, and well, one of them is Paul Thomas. And, Paul Thomas, has approached the selectmen and talked about a little bit. He talked with me a little bit, and,
Where's this sign?
pardon?
Where's this sign?
Right on the corner where 117 comes down the hill and joins into 113.
Route 5.
There's a field there, and a
Going into
sign.
Cornish, you go down 113, take the left, you go to Cornish, Depot Road.
Yeah.
Right on the corner there is a big sign.
And what's the sign say?
I'm an insurance dude.
Oh, yeah, oh, okay, yeah, my wife has complained about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what it has escalated to is that Paul Thomas wanted to find out something more about it, so he called DOT. And they have a sign ordinance, and I was somewhat familiar with it. I dealt with it about 4 years ago over in Cornish on a sign that flashed a message, which is a no-no. So what has happened is DOT has contacted Joel and said, you're violating that the sign is further away than your than 1,000 feet from your business activity. It has to be on the same property with business activity. So he works out of his house, he owns this property where the sign is about half a mile away. So in an attempt to fulfill that, he said, well, okay, I'll make an office in my rental house, and I'll be within 1,000 feet, I'll probably be about 400 feet from the sign. And so, I said, well, I think that will probably come out under a home occupation, not a problem. And I looked up the small print and everything's fine except for one thing, he has to live on the property.
Boom.
So instead of making it a home occupation, we have to make it a CUP. In Article 6 of the financial service. So.
But isn't the only reason he wants to do this business is to get his sign legitimate? Like, isn't he trying to evade the DOT rules by getting this, like, he's not actually gonna do it there, is he? He's not actually gonna run his business out of this office, is he?
No, right now, he has sort of a makeshift, little office in a closet in his house, and gets phone calls, but he can set up an office there. He has no customers coming to him, it's all.
So, but do you actually think he's gonna set up an office in his rental house?
Yeah.
Like, he's not just doing this to make the sign legal?
I don't know how the mechanics of how he's gonna operate it. But I did talk to him, and I said, are you gonna have customers come to you? He said, no, I don't have customers come to me.
I'm surprised that thing is legal at all. I mean, 113 is a scenic byway.
Yeah.
And there are no billboards allowed
Yeah.
in Maine, and that's a
right.
billboard.
Well, the letter, the email that I got a copy from DOT is their only complaint is that, the business operation has to be within 1,000 feet on the same property that the sign
Well,
is. They don't consider it a billboard.
you can
Now,
tell
the other way to look at it is, there's a very similar, exact same sign that Steve Esty has down by his quarries,
Yeah, that's true, he's right.
you know?
So has anybody complained to DOT about that?
I don't know the background history of it. I think there was in the past a complaint made, but, whether it became a bit or was corrected or whatnot, you know.
It's not our business to enforce state law.
That's
You-
right.
You are the town's code enforcement officer, not the state law enforcement officer.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So what's going on with Estes is an entire, not our problem, man.
That's right, that's right.
Not our problem.
Well, I mean, where my mind goes with this is that in all the CUPs that I've ever seen the town do or the planning board do, there's been a very consistent condition in those CUPs that any signage has to be less than 4 by 5 or 20 square feet. And that's not.
Where's that written down?
It's not in the
Okay.
land use ordinance, but the planning board has established that very consistently in all the conditions that we attach to the CUPs.
So we could have Joel come in, we could give him a CUP for his office, and we put a condition on it that there be no sign.
You know, I guess my point is, and Joe just made it, is that he shouldn't think that because he's gonna take a CUP and put his, office in a house that he builds on the property, that that's gonna enable him to keep the sign there. It may be the exact opposite, that if he does that and gets a CUP, that the conditions are gonna be for a 20 square foot sign for his business.
Oh, okay.
Because that's what
Okay.
we've done for, you know, everything on 113.
So his action is to satisfy the state.
Yeah, so have him come in, I mean, did he actually give you the CUP and stuff? Or is he gonna do that?
Ask that again,
Did he actually give you a CUP?
right here.
Okay,
Application.
so is it complete?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, well, have him in, see what happens.
Well, this wouldn't be until,
24th. Come down, have a talk.
I don't think we have time on the
Okay,
24th.
I can change it.
Yeah, I would put them into April,
Yeah.
because we've got, Firefly and, the comprehensive plan discussion.
Yeah. We can change the date. The state has given him 2 weeks to demonstrate that he's doing something about it, so that application is enough. I've already, emailed, DOT that a process has started. They said, we're very happy with it, thank you. Keep me informed as the progress goes on. Simple as that.
Could we have the name and email address of the fellow at the DOT that you are in correspondence with?
Sure.
We might want him to come in and talk to us.
Yeah.
I'm
Seems to make
missing something
sense.
here. This CUP is because he's gonna build a house on the empty lot that the sign is on?
No, he's gonna put, an office in the residential structure that exists right there.
The problem may be
So
that
there's already a house there.
Yeah.
he's got 2 rental units on the property already.
Yeah.
So I'd have to look at that. And also, yeah, no, that's
It just
enough.
feels like a
competition.
sham, I mean, it just feels like
Yeah,
a sham.
but he's already got 2 residential units. Are you allowed 2 residential units and a business?
If it was a home occupation, sure.
But it's not a home occupation. because
Right.
He lives down this way in John Muller's old house.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that his business is in Bridgeton.
And his business is in Bridgeton.
I mean, if you,
Yeah.
I thought up you had cards there, it might be a personal, but, you know, if you look on his business card and his ads and stuff, I'm pretty sure they say Bridgeton
Yeah,
is where his office is.
yeah.
My sense is that this is a sham. It really is not appropriate to do a CUP to get around, state law, I don't think the planning board of Baldwin wants to be part and parcel to reviewing and approving a CUP that is to get around state law when we have numerous members of the community coming to the town and complaining about the sign.
Okay. The CUP is actually to establish an office.
Yeah.
Because he can't establish an office as a home occupation. He doesn't live on the property.
Right.
So that's totally what the CUP is.
Right.
So Wes doesn't
Establish an
understand what
office
we're
there,
talking
a business
about.
office there.
We have to deal with Joel, because Wes doesn't understand what's going on.
Yeah, he understands.
No, he can't say what he's saying.
No, he's just pointing out to us that the CUP is for the office.
Yeah, on the bottom line there is the
Right,
6.3C.
But the rationale underlying him wanting the office is so that he
Exactly.
gets around state law.
Exactly,
Yeah.
to fulfill the state's requirements, exactly.
And what I would suggest you counsel him before we go ahead with this
Yeah,
is going through the CUP may backfire on him, because you can tell him that every CUP that the town of Baldwin has approved along 113, and that is the, Pine Tree, auto sales across from the Whistle Stop, for the storage facility.
Yeah.
And, for the, well drilling operation up there. Everyone that I recall for the past several years has a specific, and even for the one we just did for AC, Al Clark Communications.
Yeah.
They all have the same, condition, and that is, signage, has to be, no more than 20 square feet, 4 by 5, 5 by 4, whatever you wanna call it, but,
Yeah.
you know, and the sign that he has on his property now, would be a violation of the conditions that we would put on the CUP.
Okay, so
If we were to
although
approve it.
establishing an office is the sole thing of the CUP, so he satisfies the state, you're gonna attach the sign as a condition with the office.
If he's putting an office in a business,
Yeah.
a business office in a house, we would, have a condition, about signage.
Okay,
I mean,
fine.
he could put a sign on the house, he can put a sign on the driveway, you know, he can put a sign on the property, but wherever he puts it, for any businesses, it would have the condition of being 20 square feet.
So
This is a subdivision he wants.
I'm not sure, but I think he had a conversation with DOT, and they do not have a requirement for the size of the sign.
So this is a
Well, we do.
subdivision that he wants. Because
I
if you
think-
divide a
don't-
piece of
don't
property
carpet granite.
into 2 uses, you can do that. But once you go into 3s, you have a subdivision. This is a subdivision he's asking for.
Let's just have him come in and talk to him and see, I mean, I think we're just kinda going down rabbit holes here. That's what it feels like, I mean, it's fine, don't get me wrong, but.
But that's the rabbit hole I just, realized, yeah. Divide a piece of property into 3 uses, you got a subdivision.
April.
Art, do you remember how that house became the way it is now? That you have 2 living units there?
Yes, I do.
Okay. It was, Estes owned the place, no relation to Steve Estes. And he got a permit somewhere back yonder to build a garage. So he built a garage, and then without anybody knowing about it, he put an apartment above it. And then he sold the property to another couple, and so the apartment went along with it. And I discovered the apartment was there when they were gonna put a septic system in to handle the volume, and there was a problem there. We couldn't really take the apartment away, but, and the land was large enough, and we determined that the frontage was enough because 117 was put down through their property, so they own a little chunk of property on the other side of 117, a little triangle piece, and that made it enough frontage.
Because
So
the heart-
that part was okay, so it continued on, that's why there's a house and an apartment there.
So they didn't create their own hardship. The hardship was created for them by the state. I think that's the way it was played.
Okay.
They didn't create their own hardship. But to divide it out one more time is 3 divisions of the property. And I believe, let's just go along with David. Bring the guy in, we'll talk to him.
Yeah, okay, I'll get a hold of him and we'll bump it into April.
And you can drag
Fine.
him down the rabbit hole.
And we will all have insurance by the end of the meeting.
Or a mortgage.
Okay. Not a mortgage, please.
What's he, is he sell insurance or mortgages?
I think he sells mortgages.
Oh, okay, well, we'll all refi before the end of the meeting.
Okay, anything else, anybody? Okay, motion to adjourn,
So moved.
all in favor?